In this HVAC training video, we're going over how to check the refrigerant charge level on a single or two-stage air conditioning or heat pump system equipped with R-32 or R-454B. These are the new refrigerants coming out in the summer of 2024, so people are asking, how do I measure the refrigerant charge? And so we're going to be going over the subcooling method utilizing these two refrigerants today. So basically you want to check to make sure that you have a thermostatic expansion valve or an EEV at the indoor coil. And so if it's a two-stage system, make sure it's in second stage, and we're going to be measuring the subcooling method, which is measured on the small liquid line during air conditioning mode. And so we're going to be comparing the line temperature to the saturated temperature, which we find by measuring the pressure. So let's get into these four following examples. And before you measure the refrigerant charge level, make sure to check your airflow so you have the proper amount of airflow across the coil for every ton of air conditioning. And so I've got several videos linked down in the description section below on that. And one of the easiest methods is with that TEC True Flow Grid. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, regardless of the refrigerant, you need to wait 5 to 10 minutes before checking the refrigerant charge. And honestly, 10 to 15 minutes is probably better. You just want to make sure that your saturated temperature is above 32 degrees when you're converting it from pressure to temperature. So in this example, the R-32 system on the blue vapor gauge has a pressure of 116.3. We convert that to a saturated temperature of 38 degrees. So we know that the temperature of the refrigerant flowing through that coil is above 32 degrees, so it's not going to allow any humidity from the air crossing the coil to freeze onto the coil, so we're good. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the liquid line. And so the liquid pressure is 374.9, and that converts to a saturated temperature of 110. And so we also have a temperature measurement on the liquid line, and we're measuring 100 degrees. So we take 110 minus 100, and that's 10 degrees of subcooling. On the rating plate of this outdoor air conditioning system, it says that the target subcooling is 11 degrees. So since we're within, say, plus or minus 3 degrees of the target, that means that we're accurately charged. If we had maybe, say, 17 degrees of subcooling when the target was 11, that would mean that we're overcharged. And if we had, say, 5 or 4 degrees of subcooling, then that would mean that we're undercharged. We need more refrigerant in order to fill the saturated refrigerant area in that outdoor unit. And if we had 4 or 5 degrees of subcooling, that means we're low on refrigerant. And so we need to add refrigerant in order to increase the amount of area in the outdoor coil that is filled with liquid refrigerant when you have the air crossing it. Now, it's not just about subcooling, it's also about superheat. So if you have a thermostatic expansion valve, you want to make sure that this is controlling the superheat and keeping it around, say, 8 to 12 degrees. So let's take a look at that vapor line again. At 116.3 psi, we convert it to a saturated temperature of 38 degrees in the middle of the indoor coil. Now, we're also taking a temperature measurement on the suction line where the refrigerant's exiting the indoor coil and traveling back to the outdoor unit. So there we measure a temperature of 48 degrees. So 48 minus 38 is 10 degrees of superheat. So we have 10 degrees of total superheat. And so that's within, say, 8 to 12 degrees of superheat that the thermostatic expansion valve should be holding the superheat at. You got to remember that the thermostatic expansion valve cannot do its job unless you have proper airflow and the proper amount of refrigerant in the system. If you have no subcooling, that means you have no liquid entering the TXV. It's not going to be able to hold the superheat steady, and it does that also by the pressure measurements, the pressure at the head, the pressure at the external equalizer, and the pressure of the spring pressure on the bottom. Now, I'm going to give you an example of an R-32 system, and you're going to figure out if it's undercharged, correctly charged, or overcharged. So in this scenario, we have a two-stage outdoor unit, and it's running in air conditioning mode with R-32 inside. We're measuring the pressure on the small liquid line first. So we have a pressure of 335.1 psi. We convert that to a saturated temperature of 102, and we also are measuring a line temperature of 98 degrees. We also have a vapor pressure of 111.9 psi. We convert that to a saturated temperature of 36 degrees for the R-32 in the middle of the indoor coil, and we have a vapor line temperature of 50 degrees. So we're going to pause the video so you can figure out if we're overcharged, undercharged, or correctly charged, and then I'm going to give you the answer. Okay, so you notice that we have 102 degree saturated temperature in the middle of the outdoor coil minus 98 degrees as the liquid exiting the coil. So that means that you only have 4 degrees of subcooling. If we have a target of 11 degrees, then that means we are undercharged because we only have 4 degrees of subcooling. We are actually 7 degrees low on subcooling. And so that's also slightly reflected in our superheat as well. So our total superheat is the 50 degree saturated temperature minus our 36 degree vapor line temperature. And so we have 14 degrees of total superheat. So it's on the high side. We need more refrigerant to fill the outdoor unit coil and the indoor unit coil so that there's more energy transfer taking place. So there's more heat absorbed at the indoor coil and heat rejected at the outdoor coil. And so it's going to allow the system to run more efficiently if we have the proper amount of subcooling. So that would actually get added with the R-32. You would add it into the vapor line, which is the low pressure part of the system. So if we were going to add refrigerant to the system, say during an initial startup, we can either add it as vapor from the top of this bottle because it's a single component refrigerant, it's not a mix, or we could also flip the bottle upside down and charge it via liquid a little at a time into that running system. So you don't want to slug it with liquid refrigerant into the system. And of course, if you have a refrigerant leak, you're going to want to try to determine where that leak is at. You don't want to just add refrigerant, especially with these new A2L refrigerants, because you're going to have also leak detection sensors that are going to be going off if you have a leak, especially at that indoor coil. And so you want to just keep that in mind. So if you did have a leak at that indoor coil, it's most likely going to shut the compressor off and turn that indoor fan on in order to basically disperse any leaking refrigerant out of that system. So you really want to find and fix the leak before you are adding refrigerant into one of these A2L systems. And so now let's go ahead and look at the R-454B. So I'm going to give you an example first of a single stage heat pump running in air conditioning mode. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So this system's been running for, say, 15 minutes. It's got XL41 R-454B. And so we made sure that the airflow is correct for this system. And so basically we're going to be measuring the subcooling because this system's equipped with a thermostatic expansion valve as the metering device. So when you're looking at a PT chart for R-454B, you're going to be looking at the liquid column or the bubble column. So it's the bubble point is going to be different than the dew point. And so when you're looking at a PT chart for R-454B, you got to keep in mind that the saturated temperature at the outdoor coil is in the liquid column or the bubble point column, and the saturated temperature or saturated pressure at the indoor unit is in the vapor column or in the dew column, the dew point column. So you'll see as we move forward. So basically what we have is the system's been running for about 15 minutes and we've got proper airflow. And so we measure a liquid pressure of 318.3 psi. We convert that to a saturated temperature of 104 degrees. And so you can see on this PT chart, we're using that right-hand column because that's the liquid or the bubble point column. So that's the saturated pressure converted to temperature. So it's going to tell you the saturated temperature in the middle of that outdoor coil. And so we need that, and we also need to know the line temperature on the liquid line. And so in this case, we have a liquid line temperature of 96 degrees. So we take the saturated temperature in the middle of the outdoor coil, which is 104, minus the liquid line temperature, and we're left with 8 degrees of actual subcooling. We need to compare that to the target subcooling on the rating plate. So on that rating plate, you might have one or you might have multiple different target subcoolings depending on the outdoor temperature. So you just want to be aware of that. It might not just be one, but in this instance there is just one, and so we're looking at 12 degrees as a target. So we are actually 4 degrees low on subcooling. If our target's 12 and our actual subcooling is 8, we're just a little bit low on refrigerant. So remember that we want to get about 3 degrees within what the target subcooling is. So anywhere from, say, 9 degrees to 15 degrees of subcooling. Obviously you want to get as close as possible. That's going to give you an accurate refrigerant charge. Now let's just look on the vapor temperature as well, because we want to make sure that our metering device is doing the proper job at that indoor coil. On the vapor line we have a pressure of 115.6 psi. We convert that to the saturated temperature of R-454B in the middle of the indoor coil, and we're looking at 44 degrees. So remember, on the PT chart, since we're at the indoor coil, we're looking at the vapor section of the PT chart or the dew point of the PT chart. and so we have 44 degrees. And now we measure the vapor line temperature of 56 degrees, so you take 56 minus 44, and we're left with 12 degrees of total superheat. So we know our metering device is doing a proper job, keeping it about 8 to 12 degrees of superheat. And so if you want to learn more about superheat and subcooling, make sure to check out some of the other videos I have linked down in the description section below. Also make sure to check out our books because they explain it very well as well. And so we also have free articles on our website at acservicetech.com. Now let's get to the example for R-454B, and you can solve that on your own. And so I'll pause the video after I give you our measurements. So we have an R-454B two-stage heat pump. We're in second stage. It's been running for about 20 minutes, and this is during an initial installation. It has a short line set, and so we're going to be measuring the refrigerant charge level with the subcooling method because the system is equipped with a TXV at the indoor coil. And so it's above, say, 70 degrees inside as a dry bulb temperature, and it's above about 90 degrees as an outdoor temperature. And so we're going to measure this refrigerant charge with the subcooling method. The first thing we need is a liquid pressure, and our pressure is 385.3 psi. And so we convert that to the saturated temperature on the liquid line, and we're looking at 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Our liquid line temperature is 102 degrees. Now let's look over at our vapor line temperature. 115.6 psi on the large vapor line. We convert that to a saturated temperature of 44 degrees in the middle of that indoor coil. And so we also have a vapor line temperature of 52 degrees. And so now I'm going to pause the video while you're determining if this is undercharged, correctly charged, or overcharged, and then I'm going to give you the answers. So in order to figure this out, we take the liquid line pressure, convert it to saturated temperature, and we have 118 degrees as a saturated temperature. We take 118 minus 102 degrees liquid line temperature. So we're left with 16 degrees of actual subcooling. So that's kind of high. Now our target subcooling posted on the rating plate or posted on the underside of the shroud is going to be 9 degrees as our target subcooling. So we are actually 7 degrees too high of subcooling, and that means that we're overcharged. Likewise, over at the indoor coil, we measure a saturated temperature of 44 degrees and a vapor line temperature of 52. So we take 52 minus 44, and we're left with 8 degrees of total superheat. So we actually have just too much refrigerant in the system presently, and so we need to recover a little bit of refrigerant out of the system, and so that's going to reduce the subcooling to a proper amount. Remember that anytime that you recover refrigerant out of a system, you put it in a refillable recovery bottle, and you want to make sure to not add different refrigerants into that recovery bottle. So you'll have one for R-454B, you'll have one for R-32, another one for R-410A, and so this is just a reminder as far as that goes. And so also remember that if you are low on subcooling and you needed to add R-454B into the system, you need to have this bottle flipped upside down so it exits the bottle as a liquid because it's a mix of R-1234YF and R-32, and so it has to stay as a mix, as a liquid. And so the only way to do that is with the bottle upside down. You can charge it a little bit at a time into the system or use a flashing device to vaporize the refrigerant after it exits the bottle before it enters that system, because you don't want to slug that compressor with liquid refrigerant because it's only a short distance from where you have to charge this refrigerant into the system on the vapor line to where the compressor is in that system. So I hope this video helped, and I hope this kind of cleared up some of the charging methods that we might use with these new A2L refrigerants. And you're going to want to stay tuned for any updated procedures with these new refrigerants. So there's a lot of updates with these, so you want to be aware of those. I know the EPA presently is determining if we do need an A2L certification for working with these refrigerants, but presently you're just following the EPA 608 and you're doing voluntary, maybe certification through something like ESCO Institute with their A2L course. But otherwise, that's how you check the refrigerant charge using the subcooling method for A2L refrigerants, R-32 and R-454B. And if you want to learn about these A2L refrigerants, I just did a whole nother video on explaining why this is even happening, why we're switching from R-410A to these newer low GWP refrigerants. And so I'm going over some of the changes, some of the tool changes, the procedures and different things like that. So make sure you check that out. And also, if you want to learn more about HVAC, make sure to check out our website over at acservicetech.com, where we've got a bunch of articles, we've got quick tips, we've got calculators, We also have our two books there and also our workbooks and quick reference cards. So make sure you check all that out at acservicetech.com and hope you enjoyed yourself. We'll see you next time at AC Service Tech channel.